you please to let me know over the chat what is, for each of you guys, what is your area of research. For example, if you are doing a research on cybersecurity and IoT, please write it down to the chat. If you are doing your basically your thesis with machine learning, write it to the chat, because I am collecting all your topics, because I would like to prepare you some kind of templates, for your interim report and your final thesis. It is difficult to, when it comes to computer science, because you are working on very different, this like the machine learning or data science topics, then we could basically provide you with a standard template then you could carry on with. But when you are talking about computer science, then you may work on, I can see, blockchain, IoT, cybersecurity, machine learning, cloud computing, and so on and so forth. So I'll be collecting all these terms and all these topics. Then I would like to prepare you some kind of templates just to use for your reference. Okay, so let's spend 3-4 minutes just to collect these guys. Then I will be sure that I will be covering all your topics. Okay, so I can see blockchain. I can see blockchain, cloud computing, IoT. Okay. Code infra, GUI complexity, software data validation. So brilliant. Please write down all your disciplines. Then I would be, to make my life easier, to just provide you with a specific kind of templates for each of you, or for each of your disciplines, because we cannot say that all of computer science students can follow the same template, although you may follow the templates for chapter 1 and chapter, need to have some kind of, let's say, reference and extra terms. Okay, guys, do you hear me well? Because I will start the session for today. Then if you can hear me and can you see the screen, then please let me know. I will be starting the session now.
There is some distortion in the audio, Doctor.
Okay, so I'll try to. Please close your mic and can you please close your mic? Shransh, do you hear me? Shransh, please close your microphone. Tayyip Khan, please close your microphone. Tayyip Khan, please close your mic. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, guys, so today we'll be talking about pseudocodes. And pseudocodes, it is a kind of shorter phrases that could be used to describe algorithm, describe tasks, describe procedures, or a program. I mean, this kind of pseudocodes, it is somewhere between, let's say, a specific programming language, formal programming language, and our plain English or any other languages. So it is either you cannot write it down as a plain English, and you cannot use any frames from the, or phrases from the any formal programming languages. And I will show you what you can use and what you can do with pseudocodes. So pseudocodes, we can write short, let's say, short snippets of pseudocodes just to explain the way of securing the data, for example. Or we could write snippets of pseudocode just to explain the way that we have handled our data, for example. So pseudocodes, do and write that pseudocodes if you would like to describe process, tasks, algorithms, and so on and so forth. But this will give a more professional look to your work, and also will make your life much easier because you don't need to write the full code that may be, let's say, two pages, 3 pages, more than that, just to explain what you have achieved. But in pseudocodes, you could just summarize all that 2 to 3 pages in a couple of lines, or let's say 3, 4 lines of pseudocodes, and that will be brilliant. So pseudocodes tells us what we want to do and sometimes show us how we can do it. So, for example, you could write a pseudocode explaining how you have handled missing data inside your data sample, for example. I will give you some examples, I mean, when you are going through this session, and I will explain you how much details you could provide for each of your examples of, let's say, developing pseudocodes. But bear in mind that the pseudocodes, you can't use, uh, I mean, the syntax of pseudocodes exactly cannot be similar to the programming languages, exact programming language. So you cannot do, let's say, borrow some kind of keywords from Python or from C++ just to use inside your pseudocode. Also, we are not going to compile the pseudocodes. So for that reason, that will be, we said that the pseudocode is somewhere between the formal programming languages and our plain English or any other language. So for that reason, you don't you are not required to compile your pseudocodes. It's not being compiled, and also you cannot borrow any let's say keywords or phrases from any formal programming languages. You will be keeping that at the middle between formal programming languages and your plain English. Then you'll write many phrases line by line just to explain your task or your algorithm. So ideally, pseudocode shouldn't include any keywords in any specific computer languages. So this is what we have just explained. Okay, pseudocode also should be written as a list of consecutive phrases. So you've got a list, each of your list, I mean, each line in your list would explain a single process. So keep that in mind also. While we are writing pseudocodes, we can use arrows just to show looping process, to show assignment process. So we've got a plenty of room to write down or to use mathematical operators, to use some logical expression, to use some arrows, and so on and so forth. Annotation also can be used to show a logical flow of a pseudocode. I mean, logical flow of a process while you are writing pseudocodes. So here we can see keywords such as start, input, read or get, or print or display, or compute or calculate, or increase and decrease and jump, or both. So all these keywords, we could be applying these keywords to write our pseudocodes. We can see that also we've got some mathematical operators that we could also use to write our pseudocodes. So such as the arithmetic ones, the comparisons, assignments, also logical operators or logical expressions, also such as and or expression. We could write that down. So pseudocodes would be a combination of plain English, some of key phrases, I mean, inside our discipline. If we are basically talking about cybersecurity, then we've got key terms, key terminology could be used, or some of the plain English plus some of mathematical operations, some of logical operations, and also symbols and arrows. You can see that we can write conditions and iterations within our pseudocode snippets. So we could use for and for loop, and we need to say that and for, because just to show the loop has end in this stage. When we use if for condition, then we need to close that with end if, just to say that, okay, the condition has eliminated at this line. For example, okay, so I'll show you three examples that basically achieves same result. And what I would like you to focus on is that all of these three examples that I will show result are the same, but they are different because of the way or because of the amount of details that we have provided. So we explain that pseudocodes tell us what we need to do, but sometimes how to do it. So when we talk about how to doing a process or how to doing a task, so this is the way of extra details that we need to provide in case we would like to show the way of doing it. So if I say to you guys, okay, go and write me a pseudocode to find the smallest element in a list. So the simplest and the easiest or straightforward way is to write some example, as you can see on the screen, which is X with an arrow, mathematical symbol. Then you could write plain English, smallest element of list L. So that means I am assigning the smallest element of L list to X. So this is the easiest way. Okay, how about going a bit further and explaining the way of do it, or providing extra details, or let's say explaining that, or finding the smallest element in the list with another example. Okay, so we've got another way, okay, to find the smallest element in the list. We could do, okay, like that, sort the list L in increasing order, then return L of index 0, which is the first element. So that would be the smallest element in that list because we have sorted out that list increasingly. So these are two examples of pseudocode. So you could think about the way of doing the same, but basically writing a pseudocode when it comes to explaining the way of basically explaining your framework, explaining a specific process that need to be explained and need to be provided with extra details, for example. Okay, I will show you a third example to do the same, but with different way. Okay, guys, you can see on the screen that this example or this pseudocode is also finding the smallest number of an element, but we have provided extra details. We have shown the way of doing it. It's not only how to do it, but it is basically the way of doing it. So you can see that we have defined X as an basically very large number. We have initialized that variable X. Then we have defined a loop to go through the elements, or I mean the elements of the list L, and then we have checked that element. If that element is smaller than X, then exchange that or replace X by the element. Then we have specified end to the condition, then end to the loop, then print X. So all these three pseudocodes are valid to find the smallest element of a list. Why I have chosen to show you these three examples, because I can say that you've got a plenty of room to play around with the pseudocodes, and you've got a plenty of way to explain your process, your algorithm, your task, your procedure, so on and so forth. Okay, guys, so it is totally up to you how much of details you could add to your pseudocode, or you could keep it at a very high level, or you could go a bit down and down to provide extra details of how you're gonna do that, or how you're gonna explain your process or your task. So now, remember, all the three examples are the same. They are telling us the same of what we need to do. But you can see that example 2 and 3 provide us with extra details of how we can do it. So here is the clue, guys. Here is the clue. When you need to provide extra details, then you could provide that inside your pseudocode and inject that pseudocode in chapter 3, for example, in methodology, or chapter 4 in the implementation, or chapter 5 in the testing. Whatever chapters you could add snippets of pseudocode. This snippet of pseudocode should provide you with a professional look, also should increase the quality of your work, and also you could explain very complicated tasks with simple snippets of pseudocode. For that reason, this will help you to explain your work, and also will help audience to understand what you have achieved. And also you could add the amount of details will be totally up to yourself or to your thesis supervisor. Using pseudocode is not a mandatory inside your thesis or midterm report. This is optional, but I encourage you to write some pseudocodes. I encourage you to explain the way of, let's say, designing your framework with pseudocodes, or doing some testing with pseudocodes, or doing some evaluation, validation, any kind of process you could do, and write it down as a series of pseudocodes, small snippets to be included in your chapters. Pseudocode gives us basically, or gives you guys especially, plenty of room you could play around with and show how much description details you need to provide with algorithm description, task description, and so on and so forth. So take home optional. I've asked cohorts before you guys to write me some kind of pseudocode to explain the way that they have handled their data set, or the way that they would like to explain the, let's say, the security issue, for example, or explain their solution with pseudocode. Even though a small step or small amount of your solution, if you are basically providing, let's say, solutions over many procedures or many steps, then let's summarize any of these steps to be a pseudocode, and you could basically email me your work. Then we will work together. I will just investigate what you have achieved, and basically what you have provided as a pseudocode. Then I may send you a feedback. Then we could work together, explain your pseudocodes, and this basically will improve your experience, or improve the quality of your work when it comes to pseudocode. Okay, guys. Till now, I am, let's say, done with pseudocodes, but I would like to hear your questions, your concerns regarding using pseudocodes, or any suggestions regarding pseudocodes, or what you think about pseudocodes. Then please write your questions to the chat, or basically raise your hand and I will give you the microphone. By the way, guys, anyone of you would like to send me any pseudocodes as an example, then they please email that pseudocodes with the basically the process title to my email, ljmuacadsupportml@havograd.com. Last week I have received several examples from, let's say, your colleagues, but at other cohorts they have sent me several examples. I was really happy to go through their examples and discuss and provide them with feedbacks. So I cannot see, guys, any questions coming through to the chat. If you would like to discuss something related to your interim report, so please go ahead, raise your hand, or open the mic and ask directly.
Hi, Dr. Ahmed. Actually, I have a question. Like pseudocode, regarding pseudocode only. Like my topic is related to the misinformation, like in social media. Yeah.
Great.
So
Great.
for that, how I can add a pseudocode? Like Like I just want to know ki for that also I should include a pseudocode and
Okay, so so this is a great question. What about if you have some kind of limits or let's say thresholds? How you gonna consider this basically post on Facebook or this tweet on Twitter is basically misguiding others or they got some kind of misinformation? Uh, you've got some kind of limitation or some procedures or some principles to follow just to recognize that this is a misinformation.
Mhm.
Then you could explain that procedure of thresholding or that procedure of basically figuring out a misinformation by writing some small pseudocodes. Let's say, okay, read the basically tweets, list of tweets. Then from that list of tweets, basically calculate for each of these tweets how many words we've got. Then let's say if 50% of the word is basically wrong to some reasons, then I can say, okay, we've got a misinformation here, our misguidance. Then we could go to another step just to investigate that further and further. So it's a kind of, let's say, a process or procedure that you could write it down, but rather than writing an algorithm to establish a task or to achieve a task, but this will be a kind of explanation in terms of let's say a combination between algorithm and combination between plain English, combination with any mathematical operation and so on and so forth. So you will be providing us with some kind of description and let's say just to describe the way of, okay, if this tweets meet our criteria of thresholding, then I can say that, okay, this is misinformation. Otherwise, just leave it away and this it seems okay. Then for the next step, for example, you could go ahead more with the amount of misinformation inside of each of your tweets, or let's say you will explain extra details according to the amount of information that you would provide inside such a pseudocode.
got it. Like I can add it and it will be a different section altogether in these like
No, no, it will be at your same sections, but you know, let's say example, you've got some kind of section and methodology saying that, okay, thresholding and filtering, for example. Then you are talking about this process by explaining different kind of procedures. And when it comes to, you know, you have written 1 or 2 pages, then before you ending that section, you would like to add some pseudocode, then add that pseudocode, explain it, then end that section. So you don't need to write a section called pseudocode. No, pseudocode is kind of snippets that could be added in any of your sections, not a standalone section.
okay, got it. Like it will enhance the reader's understanding altogether.
Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, and enhance readers' understanding and also enhance the way that you explain the process.
Okay,
Okay, great.
thank you.
You are welcome, Milan. Okay, guys, who is next? Guys, anything related to your interim report, not only to the pseudocodes, then you are welcome to add. Guys, do you hear me? Okay, so I cannot see any questions coming through, or any one of you would like to explain or discuss or ask about something related to their interim report, to the pseudocodes, to the structure of their interim reports. Please don't hesitate. Just ask. Open the mic and ask directly, or you could reach me by email if you would like. Okay, guys, as I cannot see any questions coming through, then I think you all are basically okay. Then let us collect your topics. Um, okay, I would like to provide you with some kind of templates that will be used as as for a reference for yourself, um, just to be used as a reference for your thesis or so. Your friend asking about um, the update, any update on research proposal review. So I'm not really sure. I will be emailing Abograd because they are basically very late in sending me these feedback about the research proposal. So no worries. I will be write that down as a note. I'll be emailing them. So hopefully you will receive your feedback as soon as possible. Okay, guys. So if you are okay, you have no more questions, no any, let's say, suggestions, then I'm happy to end the session for today. Thank you very much and hope to see you next week over Apple Live. Thank you very much. See you next week. Don't forget, please, to send me examples of your work when it comes to pseudocode. Then we could work together and add extra details about pseudocodes, or let's say explain the way that you are basically using to present your method, your tasks, or your algorithms. Thank you very much and see you next week.